I'm going to be talking to you about beyond numbers, how finance technology powers modern business evolution. Yeah, that was a mouthful. But the important thing is now it's 4:20 p.m., and that means two things. We are officially in the post-coffee zone and the pre-cocktail zone. And number two, you have survived an entire day. Half the crowd is not here, which means they're enjoying outside, and you're stuck with me. So I'll make the most of this time. I'll try to keep it short and worth your last burst of attention. So my name is Reshma. I head the channel partnerships for Finance and Operations Suite in the UK and Europe. And in the next 25 to 30 odd minutes, I'm going to be talking to you about three things: the evolution of the finance apps, the growing expectations from the finance function, that's you, some of you at least, not me, and what are the latest things in the Finance and Operations Suite. Let's start with a little bit of a history of how we began our suite. When we started working on the Finance Suite, we wanted to obviously solve business finance problem, and we took the most basic problem that businesses normally have, to get paid on time. With that in mind, we launched Zoho Invoice in 2008, and since then, we've been listening, learning, and launching. We have been launching feature by feature, module by module, app by app, and today, we have one of the most comprehensive suite of finance apps, which includes all your tools from accounting, billing, expense management, a practice management suite as well. Now, all of these applications have one thing in common: a unified database. You take a look at accounting, you take a look at inventory, they all have a common database layer. You create a transaction in your inventory management software, it reflects in your accounting application. Three things that we wanted to make sure that our finance and operations suite have: that they are extremely functional, extremely flexible, and more importantly, deeply integrated. And it wasn't a sprint, it was a 17-year-old journey, and it continues. Now, in the last 17 years, we have launched over 16 country-specific editions and a global edition that supports businesses around the world. We have over 1 million active businesses who are using our platform, our finance and operations suite, around over 160 plus countries. And what really makes it important is that we have a privacy-first approach. We have an extremely powerful platform on which these applications are built. And finally, we have an integrated ecosystem. We'll be talking about it a bit later. Obviously, when we talk about finance, you hear the C word, which is not cocktail, it's compliance. So when you talk about compliance, in the last 10 years, there has been a series of updates across the world. India had rolled out its GST in 2017. The GCC countries rolled out VAT in 2018. The last couple of years has seen a surge of e-invoicing regulations rolling out in several markets around the world: Latin America, in the Middle East, across Europe, in India, and I also hear it's coming here pretty soon. And finally, there are also not deep regulations, but specific functionality like audit trail being mandated in finance applications. Now, what it essentially means is that the more we go ahead, we are going to be using a more compliant finance applications for businesses. And in parts of the world where the tax authorities allow integration, we also have tight integrations with the tax authority portal. For example, in India, we are a GST, which is a GST Suvidha provider, which means we can push transactions all the way to the government portal. In the Saudi and in UAE, we are a ZATCA and a KRA approved application. In UK right here, we are HMRC recognized for VAT, and we are also HMRC recognized for MTD ITSA. Going to be talking about that a little bit later as well. Now, what do we do with our finance and operations suite, right? What we have tried to do is provide you end-to-end business workflows. Take, for example, your order-to-cash process, or your procure-to-pay process, or your travel expense and reimbursement process. if you talk about the order-to-cash process, your salesperson can create an order, process the invoice, collect the payment. That entire workflow is available in the finance suite. And then if you're using, let's say, Zoho CRM, and then you have both applications, the best of both worlds. You create an order in, you start with, let's say, estimate. You create an estimate in CRM. It gets pushed to your finance applications. Your finance person will send the invoice. You can collect the payment. All of that gets recorded in the Zoho suite of application. Now, when we talk about all of these end-to-end processes happening within the Zoho ecosystem, obviously the next question is on scalability. I'm glad that you can do all of it, but how scalable is the platform? That's when we bring you all these numbers. In some part of the world, we have an edtech company that's processing 20 million invoices annually. We also have an order delivery platform performing about 20 million orders annually. And then we have a health services company processing about 2 million bills annually. And then in one part of the world, we also have an insurance company processing payroll for about 4,000 employees. Some of you here, I know, you're thinking, payroll, we don't have that in the UK. But I'm officially allowed to say that we are working on payroll. And just don't ask me when, unless you expect vague answers like, we're working on it, coming soon. But yeah, they tell me UK payroll is straightforward, so it's coming shortly. So while we are talking about managing finance operations, obviously there is a question of peak load management when there are invoices being processed every minute, when there are payments happening, when there are financial audits that need to happen every quarter, semi-annually, and also there comes along a holiday season when there is burst of online shopping that happens. So we have built our platform in such a way that it can manage all of these peak loads. And it's not just a suite of our apps, right? We are surrounded by a suite of other applications that we are integrated with, our payment partners, our travel partners, our card partners. Now, you take any top providers in this country, we will be connected with them. If you're using MasterCard or Visa, we integrate with them for you to fetch in your card feeds. If you're using PayPal or GoCardless, that's another great integration. In fact, GoCardless is also exhibiting in our exhibition hall here. So if you haven't already met them, please do. It's a wonderful integration where you can accept direct debits from your customers. We also integrate with Token to provide you bank feeds. And there are a whole bunch of other tools that we integrate with. Obviously, tools that we don't integrate with, we have open APIs that you can link up with. This is where we stand today. This is a finance and operations suite. And we promise to do 3 things. We will continuously innovate. That means we'll keep adding products. That's a promise that you heard in the morning. Every Zoholics, we have to bring you a new product. Second, we will provide you quality technology, and we'll always make sure to keep it extremely affordable. Obviously, I have to throw a dramatic pause here and ask you, why do we do all of this? And the reason we do all of this is because of our users. Now, if you notice the finance function, it has evolved over a period of time, right? Now, you may be in a different phase over here, and you might be able to relate to this. In some companies, the finance function perhaps may be in the initial stage, in the transactional stage, where you are recording your transactions, daily bookkeeping happening, you're making sure that everything that happens in your books are audited properly. In the second stage comes the compliance stage, where your finance function has evolved to ensure that you're following all the compliances that are required, there are audits happening properly, and you are then the guardians of the finance. In the third stage, your finance function has then evolved. You've crossed the transactional stage, the compliance stage, and you are in an operational stage. At this stage, your finance function is more collaborative. You're talking to sales, you're talking to HR, you're talking to marketing, you're sharing more insights that are locked inside your finance system. You're helping them with their processes. For example, you're helping finance teams is helping the sales team with identifying which are the profitable customers. They are helping business leaders to identify which markets to venture into, right? So at this stage of maturity, the finance function had advanced and extremely collaborative nature. Now, the fourth stage is the value creation stage. Now, here, you have moved away from all record keeping. Obviously, there are teams there, and you have set up the process in such a way that you're not worried as that as the primary goal, right? And you have moved into a stage where you're actively strategizing. You're identifying markets where to invest. You're identifying product lines that are more profitable. And finally, there is the transformational finance. It's a little bit more aspirational. Not many companies have actually reached this stage. This is where you bring your data, you bring your technology, and you bring your analytics. And then you're forecasting the future and reshaping the course of your business. And this is not just a pretty flowchart that I put together. If you look at it, there are stats which are screaming out at you in a lot of articles that you read. Close to 70% of CFOs see themselves as co-pilots to the CEO because you're always helping them strategize things. There are close to 90% of CFOs who use advanced analytics for making informed business decisions. You had heard a lot of other previous sessions. Analytics is the way for you, and you have to make sure how data can provide you that extra edge to make informed business decisions. And there are 40% of procurement executives who use AI to base information on supplier risk assessment and for spend forecasting. Now, our approach to building the modern finance platform has been on 4 pillars. We constantly ask ourselves this question: are our apps intuitive? Are they collaborative? Are they connected? Also, are they customer-centric? Let me perhaps take a moment over here to explain this. When we say intuitive, what I mean is, have you heard of the adage, my 9-to-5 apps in my 5-to-9 life? Or it goes something like that. But basically, outside of work, and sometimes inside it also, when you use Netflix, or when you perhaps order food via Deliveroo, or when you're booking a ride on Uber, going from place to place, nobody really taught you how to use these apps, right? Well, I did. I did explain to my mother how to create her Netflix account, but that doesn't apply to all the people sitting here. So the point that I'm trying to drive is all of these consumer apps are, very intuitive in nature. And the same users, when they go back to their office, they have that expectation of the same experience coming to the business apps. And that's not just a finance experience that people crave for. That's the same of any application that you use at work. Whether it's finance, whether it's sales, whether it's HR, people want a consumer UI so that they don't have to deal with the boring, clunky UI anymore. So at finance, we have tried very consciously to make sure that our UI is modern. And when we feel that we are bored with that UI, we bring in a new UI. That's what you'll hear about in Zoho Commerce. Let's move on to collaborative. Finance function as a function is extremely collaborative. They're constantly talking to HR, marketing, and sales, right? But a lot of this conversation happens outside of the system. They're always talking about a customer record or an item or a transaction. It could be an estimate or an order or an invoice or an expense. But when there's so much of conversation happening outside of the systems, there is a lot of context lost. And that's why when we build our applications, we always try to make sure that for every record that gets added, whether it's a customer or an item or a transaction, we provide you with a facility to add a comment. Or using Click, you can perhaps collaborate with a colleague from another department. With all of these capabilities inside the application, what we are trying to do is make our platforms extremely collaborative so that every conversation has a context right across with the transaction that you've created. Coming to the third point, connected. Today, your applications have to be connected. It doesn't necessarily have to be with Zoho, but outside also. If you're using a tech stack, you would prefer that finance should talk to every other tech application that you use for your business. And we are integrated with some of the leading tech applications, as I mentioned earlier, payment gateways, travel platforms, banking platforms. And the fourth one is customer centricity. Now, if I were to ask you this question, have you considered the various customer touch points for your clients? I'm sure you'll list me a series of sales and marketing applications and that your customer journey is excellent. I'm sure it is. But let's probably take a moment to think back. What if a customer wants to download their invoice? Or, slightly unfortunate, what if they want to cancel a subscription or return an order? Or perhaps as basic as they want to update their billing address. Now, all of these are still touch points in a customer's journey, and it's even more important because the customer is no longer a prospect, which means they have paid you money and they have become a customer. And therefore, this journey of theirs essentially is something that happens with the finance suite largely. And therefore, your applications that you use have to be extremely customer-centric in nature. And like I said earlier, back-office applications, or rather, finance applications are no longer just back-office application. They make a really great impact on your customer experience as well. Now, you've been hearing this all throughout the day. Good thing is I don't have to talk about it or show you a demo because I'm hoping that you're all convinced. Are the apps intelligent? Of course they are. You have been using it. It's just that you don't realize it. Let me give you a couple of examples. This functionality of revenue forecasting is available in Zoho Billing. What we essentially do is Zia will forecast, or rather predict, your next 6 months signups, your net customer, your overall revenue. And it'll also give you insights so that you can understand the average revenue per user. It can give you insights on your net revenue growth. And all of this is essentially based on the past 6 months' data, and we also give you an accuracy percentage of that. Another example, anomaly detection. This was spoken about to you in Suvish's presentation. Now, imagine a scenario where you've had a sudden surge of orders that come in, or let's say the reverse. There were a lot of cancellations. Now, with the data that's there in your application, Zia will be able to go back, compare the past performances, monitor a pattern that it may have observed, and then come back with insights on what really happened. When did it happen? Why did it happen, perhaps? All of these insights shared with you can help you make better decisions for the future. If you have ever attended the finance sessions previously or even the finance workshops, I'm sure the screen would have come to you. At least I've been using this for the past 6 years. So this is a very nice functionality for our inventory product. It's called package geometry. What it essentially does is it will simulate the way how your boxes have to be arranged in a carton before they are packed. And what it does is essentially helps you to optimize the space so that you're packing more boxes and you're saving costs. And finally, the OCR. It works. I've kind of scanned over 500 receipts, and never have they gone wrong, and I've always got reimbursed. So with that, we come to the last and the final segment, and that's what's new in the Finance Suite. We're going to be talking about the 6 products that we are going to cover in the UK. Let's start with Zoho Books. Now, Zoho Books are accounting product, right? When it comes to accounting and compliance, the one thing that you can be sure of is there is one regulation or the other coming soon. And the next thing that's going to happen in the UK is making tax digital for income tax self-assessment. And this is largely towards businesses that make a turnover of above 50,000. Obviously, businesses that made 80,000 or 90,000 above and who are VAT registered are already under the ambit of MTD VAT. Now we are talking about the second segment, right? What this essentially says is that if there are businesses that were filing returns at the end of the year to the HMRC, from April 2026 onwards, you will have to send quarterly updates of your income and expenses to the HMRC and via a digital tool. And that's why we have introduced the MTD ITSA capability inside Zoho Books, and we are making it available in our free plan. This is a great opportunity for businesses who have not gone digital, and there is a huge number in that. If you have been following the stats which are being pushed out by HMRC, you will see that there is not much adoption of digital solutions for accounting and back office operations. And therefore, this new regulation that comes in is actually a great opportunity for businesses to adopt something like Zoho Books for their finances. Now, along with MTD, we are also having the self-assessment report as well. So for businesses who are still below the revenue turnover, they can continue to use Zoho Books to submit these self-assessment reports that they have to do with HMRC. Now, this portion is for smaller businesses, but we also have something up the sleeve for limited companies. We are working on corporation tax and final accounts. They are in the early access phase, and in a couple of weeks, we should be launching them as well. Now, if any of you are attending our track tomorrow, we have my colleague Vaishali, who will be going to give a demo of these functionalities, and you can see what's going to come in Zoho Books in just a few weeks away. Now, along with the compliance side of things in Zoho Books, obviously Zoho Books does a lot more things beyond that. We have added a lot more functionality in the AR and the AP side, which is your accounts receivable and the payable side. We have added fixed assets. We have also added the most requested integration, which is the DEX integration. So if you are users of Zoho and if you have been using OCR, that's wonderful. We are making some of the scans free in that, by the way. But if you're using DEX, you can now seamlessly connect DEX with Zoho Books and have all your receipts inside Zoho Books so that you can account them well. Moving on. The last time when we met you, we had not launched this product. About a year and a half ago, we launched Zoho Practice. Zoho Practice is a unified practice management software, largely for accounting and bookkeeping firms. Now, what it does is it brings everything together under one roof. And what is that? It's your client communication, it's your client onboarding, it's your task management, document management. You name it, and you have it inside practice management. Now, it can handle two types of clients. Clients which are your Zoho clients, clients which are not on Zoho. Perhaps they're using another product, or they're probably not even using a digital application. Now, if you are an accounting or a bookkeeping firm, which I don't know how many of you are, if you are one of them, then you can easily connect your client's Zoho Books account, Zoho Inventory account, and Zoho Expense account. And what it really means is that you can get the insights from all of these for your client's business and give them a holistic picture when you have meetings with them. With Zoho Practice, we have made the entire process of client communication a lot more easier. There is a module called Client Request, which my colleague Chandru will be talking to you about tomorrow. In this, you can actually send client requests for, let's say, document signing or sending a questionnaire or perhaps bringing out your emails with the client as well. So that was about Zoho Books and Zoho Practice, largely dealing with accounting and compliances. Next, we move on to Zoho Inventory. If you're Zoho Inventory users and if you have been following our updates, then you would have seen that the last few months we have rolled out more updates relating to warehouse management. Yeah, we're getting there now. So with a lot more functionalities added in the warehouse management, like bin location, like stock counting, replenishments, what we're essentially doing is we are helping businesses to speed up time when it comes to their warehousing processes. Let me give you an example. With bin location, you can exactly precisely say where your stock is. You can know the exact aisle, the shelf, and the bay where you have placed the stock. And what this does is the pickup time of retrieving the stock is reduced much lower. That means you're saving up more time. And we also have introduced stock counting. There are two ways. There is a periodic stock update that you can do and a custom stock update. And this is to actually match the physical inventory that's there in your warehouse with what you have stored in Zoho Inventory. And at any point that you feel that there is a mismatch, let's say you have 3 warehouses. In one of the warehouses, there is a lot of inventory, and in the others, you don't have much. You can easily transfer the inventory from one warehouse to the other. Or if you feel that the stock has gone below a reorder level, slightly tongue twister, sorry. When it goes below a reorder point, then you can raise a replenishment for that, and you can send out a purchase order for procuring those items as well. So that's about the warehouse functionality that we introduced. Now, when it comes to selling, we have also made it better. Now, when you sell an item, you may not sell an item as such. In some cases, you may bundle together multiple items and sell it as a bundle. Or sometimes you may put together some of the components and you can assemble it together. So whatever kind of businesses you're running in terms of selling an item, we allow you to sell it as an item or a bundle, as a kit, or an assembly. And finally, whatever stock movement happens, you have to account the cost for it well as well. With the weighted average cost that we have introduced in Zoho Inventory, you will be able to do precisely that. Doesn't matter at what cost you bought the item, we can average it out, and this new addition supports the earlier FIFO that we had in the product. So we now have two forms of inventory valuation in our product, FIFO and weighted average cost. Zoho Commerce users must have seen a major update a few months ago. This product was launched about 5 years earlier, and now we have done a complete revamp, and not just a revamp, it's not just good looking, but it is also power-packed with a lot of features. Now, if you're using inventory and commerce together, the way how we tell them that is inventory is the back engine and Zoho Commerce is the front engine, right? It's a shop front, it's the e-commerce store. So in this latest update, apart from obviously revamping the whole UI, which makes it cleaner and faster, we've also introduced functionalities that can help you sell better. And what do I mean by that? We have introduced smart recommendations. You know, when you go to buy something on Amazon, you're putting that one thing, and then there are further other recommendations. Well, that kind of capability is now available if you put an e-commerce shop out there. So we have smart recommendation, we have wish lists, we have save for later, we also have an abandoned cart recovery module. So we have all of these capabilities power-packed so that you can sell better. And it's not just sell better, but we also made it easier to sell easier globally. And what do I mean by that? You can now have a customized checkout page with your brand, logo, colors, and you also have a multi-currency checkout option. So your customers from anywhere across the globe can now choose a currency of their preference to make the payment to you. And because now we support the global CDN, the website will load a lot more faster from where your customers are located. Outside of this, we also have WhatsApp integration. So you want to sell your product to your customers via WhatsApp, that's possible too. Build the product catalog, put it into a WhatsApp, because obviously you interact with customers a lot more over WhatsApp. So that is also possible now. We also introduced themes. There are close to 15 plus mobile responsive themes that are available in Zoho Commerce, which means that every time you use or update your website, that will automatically be reflected in your mobile version of your website as well. So now you don't have to have separate efforts for your website look of the web version of your website and your mobile version of your website. The minute you update the web version, it's automatically available in your mobile as well. The second last product that we're going to talk about is Zoho Billing. Now, Zoho Billing, as some of you may know, was earlier known as Zoho Subscriptions. The reason why we switched it to Zoho Billing is, again, there's a story behind it. As you all know, the way how consumers behave with your business has changed, particularly when it comes to payments. One-time billing has changed sometimes to subscription billing. Sometimes that whole billing has changed to usage-based billing. People may want to pay you one-time or recurring. There's a whole kind of billing process out there which customers demand, and you as businesses may have to offer it to them because there is extreme competition out there, right? Now, to support all of these kinds of billing, we have introduced the product called Zoho Billing about 2-3 years ago. And the latest updates that we've introduced in Zoho Billing is, there are 3 main updates. Progress invoicing, we have advanced billing, and we also have revenue recognition. Let me give you an example in all 3 scenarios. Progress billing is when, let's say, you landed a big deal, about a £50,000 deal for website management. Now, instead of collecting the money at the end of the whole project, you can now break it down. You can collect about 30% up front, perhaps 40% somewhere in between, and then the remaining at the end. So the system will provide you a facility where you can actually go ahead and define these and then collect the payments. Advanced billing. This is our favorite. We charge you up front. We don't have many people over here, but still, let's assume that you're all sold on Zoho One and you want to subscribe to a 100,000 plan tomorrow, and we collect all that money. That's about, let's say, 5 million. Now, you paid us up front for a year full of service, and we have collected money from you. That's fine as far as billing works. We are happy, you are happy. But when it comes to a finance team, they are not very happy because we collected money for the service that was not yet serviced. So therefore, the accounting team, obviously as per the guidelines of IFRS, would prefer that the revenue that we collected is recognized as and when the services are delivered. So what we essentially do at the back end is there is a deferred account, and then there is a recognized account, and then we move the money as and when the services happen. So that's revenue recognition. Extremely useful functionality if you allow this billing option to your customers where you collect money upfront. And finally, Zoho Expense. This is my favorite. Doesn't cost much problem. So Zoho Expense, we have some cool functionalities. Obviously, for UK, we support auto import of per diem. So if you're traveling anywhere within UK, you just need to enter your location, and we automatically fetch your per diem rates. And if you're also using corporate credit cards, then with Visa and MasterCard integration, we are able to fetch all the corporate feeds as and when the transaction happens. So you buy a coffee with your corporate card, and then the transaction hits Zoho Expense, and you can just swipe it, and then you can match it. Attendee management, or otherwise known as split expenses, is it's a cool feature. So after Zoholics, if you're going out with a few colleagues of yours, and then you decide to foot the bill, when you go back, you can always upload that expense and say that, hey, there were other colleagues as well. You can tag them, and this expense essentially gets split across your colleagues. And finally, the mileage tracking. It's way too simple now. If you are moving from one place to another with Google Maps and with your GPS, based on the, how much of travel you have done, system will automatically bring all those up in Zoho Expense, and all you need to do is just click off a button and then create the transaction right there. And you don't have to manually do that anymore. Now, these are all the main updates in the Finance and Operations Suite. Obviously, we have an entire track tomorrow, and if you're going to be here tomorrow, please do visit the Finance track to see how these products function. We also have our team members here from India, and they will be more than happy to talk to you about the cool functionalities that we have launched in the product. Last but not the least, I actually missed this slide. Last but not the least, this is the procurement feature that we have. This is pretty advanced in Zoho Expense, and it covers the end-to-end procurement cycle. So whether you want to do vendor onboarding, you want to do sourcing of RFPs, you want to evaluate those orders that have come in, the invoice payments that happens. So this is highly advanced procurement that we have made available for a few customers. It's part of a stage-wise releases that we are going to be doing in Expense that you're going to be seeing. This, again, is available as an early access. So if you wish to see this in real life, please do come and meet us, and we can show you a glimpse of how it looks and works. And that's pretty much from us. So what's next? All of you are free to leave and go for the awards, for which our team has actually put together a lot of effort. We have some amazing snacks and cocktail as well. So thank you so much for being patient and for sitting here and listening. And we'll see you again tomorrow in the finance track. Thank you.